coming here. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun seeing the regulars. We've grown in fellowship, and we've also grown in relationships. I've made a lot of friends here. Yeah.
Beatrice,
Yes.
what do you like about working here?
I like working here también en Starbucks.
Do you like working in the Starbucks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Me gusta trabajar para mi prójimo. Me gusta trabajar.
For your neighbors?
Dar el servicio.
Nice, nice. Thank you. Stephanie, what do you like about working at the food pantry?
This is my first time here, but it's pretty cool so far. I like that I can kill two birds with one stone. I can help out the community, and I can get my college community service out.
Let's see. And George, what do you like about working here?
Likewise, I give back to the community and serving. So,
That's fantastic. Are you also here for community college service
no,
hours?
for the Navy.
For the Navy. Awesome. This is Maria. Maria, what do you like about working here?
I want to do the beginning. I start the vegetable and then they move me here. And then I love it.
Why did you come here the first time?
And then I heard, oh, we need more volunteer. Oh, and then I wake up. And then I get down to the car and then I ask, oh, it's okay if I volunteer today? Oh yeah, proceed. She said, okay, it's okay if I come every Saturday? Oh yes, I'm happy to hear that. She said, and then I start that from the beginning. I start volunteering. Fantastic.
Theme of reproductive justice, and with all proceeds going to
Rise if you're able. Kids, you can face your parents and show them how to do it. Oh, I thought I was going to do that later. Yes. Okay. In 2023, I was privileged to go to Camp to Benneville to Singing in the Pines. The music committee sent me, led by Don Milton, who's the music director at our Atlanta UU church. And he was speaking about making worship more engaging with all the senses, including kinesthetic movement, not just the UU intellectualism. Yes, you've heard of that. During the pandemic, when we were on Zoom, he recognized that people really needed a hug. People really needed something. So he created this movement prayer so that we can give ourselves a hug. And after Zoom, of course, they continued doing it in their service. And I thought this was a wonderful idea. I wanted especially our children to be able to do something that wasn't verbal, something moving. Because we like to move, right? All right, no. And it's great to get everybody else moving too. All right, the words are on the screen. This is how we do it. First we bow to honor the spirit of life. We lift our arms to embrace the gifts of spirit. We gather these gifts unto ourselves and smile and breathe. We share these gifts with the world and remember to be present. We bow, embrace, gratitude, breathe, and be present. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathleen McFarland, and I am the president of Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. Our church is in Costa Mesa, California, and we've been led for 11 years by our current minister, Reverend Sean Wilcher. We are a congregation of many different identities and beliefs, but we are one loving community. Our members and friends are the inspiration and impetus for our social justice actions, and we support and build upon their passions and interests to make our impact. Through our Share the Plate program, we've made social justice a regular weekly activity for our entire congregation. For over 20 years, each month we share 1/2 of the undesignated funds we receive during the weekly service offertory with a local nonprofit organization that shares our values.
This is Maureen McConaughey. My passion is reducing human-caused animal suffering. The UUA's new Article 2 says, "We covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation." And so I started a chapter of the Unitarian Universalist Animal Ministry at church.
The OC-UUC LGBTQ Action Group offers a supportive space to the community.
My name is Tatiana Hauser. In February 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, it was a horrific shock. I came to the US in 1999 from Russia, and my father was from Ukraine, so I have loved ones on both sides. In April 2022, when I learned that Ukrainian refugees were allowed through the southern US border, I went to San Diego to see how I could help. I left with 5 Ukrainian refugees in my car and brought them to my mom's apartment, which was available because she was traveling. They had nowhere else to go. I reached out to our minister to see if OCUC might help, and within just a few days, we managed to get the whole church donating bedding and cots, and we set up one of our 2-story units as a shelter. The building soon filled up, and we continued to house refugees through August 2024. Currently, OCUC has transitioned to creating an ESL program for local Ukrainian refugees that I am excited to be a part of.
Dale Botts, are you in the meeting house? Okay, thanks. All right. Yeah. Dale Botts, do we have a quorum of members present today?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We have 55 certified delegates from 16 different congregations.
Perfect. I call this year's annual meeting to order. Welcome to Camp de Benneville Pines annual meeting of the membership. First off, I want to thank First UU San Diego, my home congregation, for dedicating a significant amount of time and staff to host this year's assembly. We'll be looking for another congregation soon. I also want to thank all the persons volunteering for this event. Thank you. Reverend Justine enthusiastically agreed to host us, which, as you know, is half the battle. Her contribution of people and musical talent are greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Reverend Justine. To my co-chair, John Shibley, of the local assembly committee. John, you have been working on this for a full year. You are a remarkable person. Your work is paying off, and the board of directors of camp, thank you wholeheartedly. See, you're gonna. If you host us next year, it'll be an even better thing. No. I also want to thank our speakers, our workshop leaders, Meg while she's recuperating, our chefs, our audio specialists. Each of you inspires all of us. I cannot leave out Robbie, who, woohoo! She stirs the magic behind the scenes. Thank you, Robbie. To a man I deeply respect, Dale Botts. You are an amazing man of many talents that I have come to learn. By your leadership and steering of Camp's tiller, you keep us on track in so many countless ways. Please know your contribution is recognized and critical to the functioning of this organization. Sorry. Thank you, Dale. So far, we've enjoyed a beautiful opening ceremony, listening and learning from Peter Boland last night, and this morning, Meg Riley. I'm looking forward to this afternoon's set of workshops, and I hope you are too. The annual meeting is an essential function of nonprofit organizations, so let's proceed. The news informs us that this is an unprecedented time in this great American experiment as UUs. We need to be able to unwind so that we can be the people we need to be now more than ever. The board and I view camp as an excellent place to unwind, regardless of your age. Perhaps our children aren't aware of all that is happening, but they notice that everyone seems a little more on edge than usual. Well, I'm here to say that camping is a perfect outlet for them. Camping is a deep form of individual therapy. It seeps into our being and refreshes us. It doesn't quite matter what activity a camper does. Our sacred space seeps in and renews us. The liberal religion needs a landed camp when? Now more than ever. The board of directors has put forth the nomination, and I call Louise Klatt up here to return to the board of directors. Do I have a second? Raise your hand. Thank you. Ellie Long has seconded. Is there any discussion? Good. Let's keep that brief. Pardon? Yes, come on up here. I know I'm moving along. So. Hi, Louise Klatt. Louise Klatt is our media person, and she keeps us informed when we're down the mountain. So I'm going to ask all delegates in favor of Louise Klatt joining the board of directors, raise your hands and keep it raised until Dale says he's finished counting, or how are we going to do that, sir? Okay, great. Okay, Laura's doing it, so that's fine. Yeah. Okay. And then those online, please type in yes in your comments. Are there any delegates who oppose? Thank you. Are there any who are abstaining? Thank you. And so my notes are correct. Louise Klatt, welcome to the Board of Directors. The motion carries. Thanks. Fellow members of camp, according to camp's bylaws, the membership of the board shall not drop below 7 members. In this next year, when we meet again at our next assembly and we have our annual meeting, several members will have served their 10th year. That means by February 2026 or 27, I don't know if I'm quite correct on that, but we'll let you know. We will need board members replacements for 3 or 4 of our, 4 of our current members. So please consider serving on the camp board of the Benneville Pines, please.
What's the process for that?
Oh, yes, I was gonna mention that a little later on. Okay, thank you. How many of us know Ross Quinn up on the mountain? He is our medical man. He is watching us online if he's able. I must admit that both Ross and his significant other couldn't be here today. They would have loved to have been here today. We are holding them in our hearts because they are both in recovery for different reasons. And Donna Herman is also a board member, and she is virtually present with us today and recovering well from her recent surgery. We look forward to all of them returning to health as soon as possible. At this time, would we have the budget presented? First, Paul Wallace with his final treasurer overview, and then a presentation from Dale Botts on the camp's financial health.
Thank you, Pat. Can everybody hear me? It's okay? All righty. So I'm going to give the treasurer's report as soon as I find my glasses. You know, I had eye surgery a little while back, and I'm still getting used to the idea of I need glasses for this, but not for this. Anyway, so we're going to cover camp financials for the past fiscal year and compare with some of the other previous years. Next slide. How are we doing? Okay, good. All right. So 3 general topics will be covered in this report today, including a multi-year camp financial comparison and assessment. And we're going to, well, first off, the fiscal year every year begins on April 1st. Runs through March 31st, and that is because that time period in the early spring is the time when camp activity is kind of at the lowest. So that's a good time to end the fiscal year. So we're going to look at before COVID-19, during COVID, and post-COVID, and see how camp has been doing financially during those 3 periods. Understand that the numbers for the current well, the most recent fiscal year, which ended March 31st, are going to be estimates because the official numbers really aren't put together until sometime in the summer. So, but I think estimates are good enough for our purposes today. Next slide. All right. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, good. So, in this particular presentation, we see, you know, and that font is unfortunately very small. The blue bars are camp revenue, just camp revenue, without including any donations. The orange bars are camp expenses. So it looks pretty bad if you just look at what's been going on for the past 3 fiscal years. But this doesn't tell the whole story, and there's reasons why this kind of looks not very good. And we'll go to the next slide. Now, if we include unrestricted donations, the picture is very different. This covers a 6-year period or so, 7-year period from 2018 to 2025, and yeah, good. You know, when I did my copy, the ones that were negative showed up a different color, but oh well. You'll have to use your imagination that the ones that are below the line are actually years where there was a net loss, despite including unrestricted donations. So as you can see, early on, 2018, 19, 20, 2020, which are the first 3 bars that you see, CAMP was kind of breaking even with the inclusion of unrestricted donations. In 2021, which was a year of almost negligible operating income, there's a big green bar. And the reason for that is because of people like you. There was a tremendous amount of outpouring of support, donations for CAMP in that 2021 fiscal year that just made all the difference. So thank you, and I'm gonna start clapping for all of you who have contributed to CAMP. We love it. The next 2 years, a little bit on the negative side. We're just starting to get going again with campers starting to come back to camp. Excuse me. And then 2024 and the estimate for 2025, we're showing that with donations, let's make that clear, with donations, camp is doing okay financially. And in fact, the past 2 years have been pretty good ones for the overall health of the camp. However, the downside is some of that running in the black, so to speak, is because we've had difficulty getting staff. And so the staff expenses are kind of low compared to full staffing and what that would be. So that running in the black is not necessarily, it has its downside, let's put it that way. We'd like to really have a full staff. And Janet's working very hard on remedying that. So, main takeaways, next slide. Let's see if that comes up. Main takeaways here are COVID impact was significant in the fiscal years 2021, 2022. Thanks to donations, camp survived. You could say that camp operations recovery started in fiscal year 2023, so we're now a couple years into that. And despite the recovery, you know, and I've seen this happen elsewhere, that when the pandemic was kind of over, there was this surge of people wanting to get back and do the things that they couldn't do during the pandemic, camp being one of them. So you saw this surge of enthusiasm and people coming back to camp, and then it starts to taper off a little bit. So, in fact, revenue was down about 8%, camp revenue, not necessarily including donations. Camp revenue was down about 8% compared to fiscal year 2024. But I think going forward, what I'm hopeful is that with all of us contributing, that camp will continue on a good path here, and that we'll be able to see those numbers improve and camp attendance improve as the years go on. And like I said, the pandemic threw many organizations a curve, and that we, like many others, have struggled to recover from that, but I think we've really done a pretty good job, and Janet, we have Janet to thank for a lot of what has happened in the interim. Okay, now, time for next slide, which is the fiscal year 2025 budget, and that will be our Vice President making that presentation, Dale.
All right, you should have seen the budget in your packages. If not, then basically we're running about probably $600,000 to $700,000 income, but we have $1 million expenses. So with donations, that's why we still annually do a donation run at the end of the year, calendar year, and try to boost the donations from probably about 120 or 25,000 to as close to 300,000 as we can get to fill the to make it all even. Now, one thing with the slides that you saw up here was or is that during the year, the pandemic year, actually, coincidentally, we had several very large legacy income donations. So that's the importance of putting a legacy donation in your will or trust and contribute to Camp de Benneville Pines, or have that part of the nonprofits that you do donate to, because it really helped us out, even out the books. The other thing that, with all those bar charts and everything that you just saw, is that behind the scenes, there are extreme weather events that are happening more often that are severely affecting Camp de Benneville Pines operations. During the pandemic, it didn't really matter too much, although we did get a really big sympathy donation effect because the fires were literally at the boundaries of our camp during the September 2020 fire event. And that was the second fire event in 4 or 5 years. And now this year, 2024, we had another fire event that closed or that caused the evacuation of everybody at Camp de Benneville Pines for 5 weeks, very critical weeks in September and October, when we had full scheduled events, and I don't know if you recognize that our income from the previous or the last fiscal year to the previous fiscal year was down about 8%, and it's directly as a result of the closure of those 5 weeks. And it affected other camps after that, not all of them. The PineCon is doing super. They had 100 people in October, right after the fire. And this is the board gaming group, you know, and talk about spiritual health, you know. I mean, I like that, you know. I kind of put spirituality in the back of my mind a little bit, but I'm not quite into protesting and all that yet, you know. And I'm thinking, well, maybe spiritual retreat is the way to go. And you need to make sure that yourself is healthy, as well as you know, trying to reach out to other people. So I like that spiritual. Thank you, Natty, for that. As far as the balance sheet, we now have, at the beginning of the pandemic, when we were literally closed for 2 years, we now have, we had at the time 4 months of emergency reserves. And even when the campus closed, we're you know, ending up having to spend tens of thousands of dollars. But now we have a whole year of emergency reserves. And that's $600,000. Our accounts payable, operating and payroll together, We have about $400,000 in that. We have $200,000 in the balance sheet. This is not in the budget that you all saw, but the balance sheet, $200,000 ready to pay to the U.S. Forest Service, which is our landlord. We lease from the U.S. Forest Service. We own all of the buildings, we own all of the operations on that land, but we have to lease the land. So we have 22 member camps in the Barton Flats Camp Association that collaborate with us and work with the U.S. Forest Service, and we're finally making some headway and resolving what started way back in 2014 as far as the U.S. Forest Service saying we want to increase your the lease fees, and there's 3 different fees, and they're saying, well, it would have resulted at least 4 times an increase to the lease fees for us. Finally, we're making some headway here in resolving all that and getting back down to the, so we don't have that 4 times increase, we're back down to where we were. Although I make a note of caution is that this may be partly because of the dysfunction of the federal administration. But however they want to do it as far as resolving the books, we have backup paperwork on everything, and so if we're challenged, we can defend ourselves, and that's part of the process, even with the personnel that we have. We have moved into new territory with Camp de Benneville Pines now. We make really good documentation on anything that occurs with employees. We respond very quickly, and we're finally, to me, this is my opinion, we're finally getting some really good employees in, and we can keep other good employees if we have good employees. So anyway, having said that, the employee, it's still a challenge to hire and retain good employees, but we're making some headway in that. Thanks very much to the very proactive board that we have and volunteers for the different committees at Camp de Benneville Pines, as well as the major donors. We have figured out how to patch up things and keep things running, even when it looked like it was the sun was setting on everything. So we're in a really good space right now, although I loop back to the U.S. Forest Service and that we wanted to spend some of this money, most of this money that we now have as a reserve for new buildings and improvements. For example, the director's cabin we had on the books, and we were already completing a modification to expand that way back 7 or 8 years ago, and the U.S. Forest Service says, wait, you can't do that, you need a permit from us. Although we had already talked to them, especially about the director's cabin, they knew exactly what we were doing. So even things like double pane windows installation, we can't get permits for that, and this has been going on for 7 or 8 years now. And we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet for the permits. Thus, we do have a large amount of reserves that are technically for, the desire is for new building and improved camping facilities and improved programs where we can do it. But since technically it's unrestricted, then it can be a backup for the operations, although we haven't had to use it for any kind of reserve for operations. Restricted funds for the balance sheet, share the vision. We have about $76,000 in that. That's for ongoing maintenance as well as scholarships. We have a separate scholarship fund that's unrestricted for $52,000. We have restricted money for new building, which is about $700,000. Now, the unrestricted reserves is actually about $2.8 million, which makes us a very healthy organization. The endowment is about $300,000. I, as a board member, like unrestricted funds. Endowment is kind of a restricted fund, and it's hard to work with. I'm not a promoter of endowments. I am a promoter of a healthy reserve, and I'm a very much a promoter of trying to get more legacy gifts, and that has really helped us out quite a bit. So if you have any other questions on the health, the financial health of the Benneville Pines, where we're headed, please join a committee or raise your hand and say, hey, I'm kind of interested in the board, and find out more information. We have a lot of creative ideas that we're kind of throwing into the mix right now. So that's my presentation. If you have any other questions, you can pin me down one-on-one, or you can talk to Pat and she can figure out how to get a hold of me. Thank you very much.
There'll be more to come about how you can contact us about becoming on a committee and on the board of directors. I'd like to welcome Chris Fowler to the podium to discuss our facilities, what has approved, and what needs campus improvement.
Hi. As your facilities committee director and longtime board member, I have a lot to review with you today. I just want to say that I know all of you have been to camp, so you appreciate what we have there in terms of the facilities. How many have participated in volunteer weekend work camps, all those sort of things? That's what I thought, just about everybody. You are our facilities team, so thank you all for your work that has been accomplished over the years, because we couldn't do it all without many, many volunteers, and we have accomplished quite a bit. In spite of the challenges that we face with the Forest Service, who seems to be, well, we won't even, I don't know what, but we move forward, and we've taken the approach that, we're not going to get approvals in the short term for any major new buildings and things of that nature, so we're diligently working on improving the existing facilities and doing everything we can to make that camp and continue to have the facilities and the space that we all love so much and enjoy with our weekend camps and so on. So with that in mind, our most important project in this last year, next slide, please. Well, there's a number of things that we want to talk about. There we go. So the things that I am going to cover, first of all, we do have a number of, we have a federal grant and a state grant that we're working to fully utilize. The federal grant was for security improvements. Many of those improvements I'll touch on further in the presentation, but include things like the alert system for fire and intruder alert, security for the cabins, and so on. The state grant is a CAL FIRE grant for improving fire preparedness and defensible space work that we're struggling to get approval between negotiating between CAL FIRE and the Forest Service to be able to give us the final approval to start on that, but we hope that that can start this summer. We'll touch on the maintenance house remodel, erosion control projects, the defensible space work that we're working on, tent platform repair, automated gate installation, security and alert systems, office window improvements, and pool and spa. Other than that, we have nothing to do. Okay. So on to the maintenance house. I think most of you probably know that our maintenance manager moved on from his position last summer after being with us for quite a few years. I don't know how many exactly, but the house, the maintenance facility needed major renovation. So that work has been going on through the fall and into the spring and is nearly complete, or maybe 100% complete. So a few pictures of the work that's been done, some by volunteers, but a lot of contractors and paid work, because this was a major renovation project. That's the new kitchen, and it looks beautiful and it's ready for occupation. The next slide is upgraded bathrooms and laundry area downstairs. Go ahead to the next slide. A new deck on the back of the maintenance facility, and basically we hauled one big, what do they call it, dumpster trailer out of that, filled that thing up. I said to Janet, we'll never fill that up. Well, guess what? We filled it up. And so the maintenance house is ready for our new maintenance manager to be recruited and brought on board for hopefully this summer season. Okay. Our next project that has been ongoing for many years is erosion control. And of course, this started 10 years ago after the lake fire, when we were so concerned, rightfully so, of erosion and debris flows coming through camp. Many of you probably helped us put together over 10,000 sandbags and put those all around camp, and we put straw bales on the hillside, and we did all that work. And we've redone it 2 or 3 times over the course of the last years, because we had another fire, of course, 5 years ago with the El Dorado fire, and then this last fall, another fire that almost came to camp. So we've been aggressively working this program for probably 10 years now, I guess. My goal, personal goal, is to eliminate sandbags. Janet will laugh at that, because all that work to put 10,000 sandbags out, well, they're deteriorating, they don't look great. I want camp to get back to, the natural environment that we all love. And the way to do that is through a number of projects that we're undertaking. So the next slide, you'll see one of those things is to replace the sandbags along the roadways with curbs that will direct the water where we want it to go. We've done things like we're using our tractor built berms along the basketball court and along the little parking lot there next to the infirmary. We've done things, we've paved one of the pathways by the Peace World building that washes out every winter, so that the water going through there. We've closed some of the trails going to the lodge, because guess what? When it rained, they just became rivers that took everything right down to the back of the lodge. So we've done a lot of work over the last years to address the erosion control issues, and we'll continue with that as time goes on. It's one of our, every work camp, we try to pick a little project that will, again, address that issue. We're on the mountainside, water's gonna flow through camp. We can't stop it, but we can send it, hopefully direct it in a way that preserves the buildings and the pathways and things. So that's our approach with the erosion control. All right, next slide, please. Our next big project for this spring is to address the tent platforms that are needed for temporary staff for the summer camps. This is the oldest tent platform. Didn't have really great pictures to show you, but that one's gonna be taken down. It's really beyond repair. It'll have to be completely rebuilt. But for this summer, we need 2 tent platforms, and we'll start the work at our work camp, if you all want to come up and help, the first week or second weekend in May 9th through the 11th. We have a volunteer weekend, which we're going to be working on the tent platforms. So some of that work, go ahead with the next slide, has already started. You can kind of see the disrepair of one of the platforms here that we're working on. So our hope is to not only repair what's there, but start working on a longer-term plan to make a more permanent shade structure over the top of the tent platforms that will help protect the staff during rainy season, or when we get the summer rains or the hot sunny afternoons. Okay, the next project that's on taps for the work weekend this fall, being led by Dale Botts as one of his other jobs. Years ago, back with the lake fire, the water line between the wellhead and camp, the support structure that supported the water line over this ravine, which if you really look closely, you can see the water line there, not well supported and hasn't been for some time. We feel like we're on borrowed time with this. We really need to improve the support structure, which burned 10 years ago with the lake fire. So one of our projects will be to build a more permanent support structure for this water line that is keeping our tanks full. Next slide, please. Oh, well, why am I showing you a bunch of dead trees? As you saw on the previous slide, these fires have created a huge problem for us. Not only the fires, but then the tree on the right outside of cabin 5 was a lightning strike, took out a beautiful tree that has to come down. There's other trees that the hurricane took out on the entryway by the coffee house and office. So we're in a forest and we have to manage our forest, and part of that is dealing with these issues that nature and the fires have created with these trees. We're hoping that this CAL FIRE grant, which we can get approval hopefully in the next few weeks, will allow us to use that money to take out a lot of these dead trees and do a lot of that work for us. If not, then we'll have to take another path of fundraising or use some of our reserve funds. But you know, taking down trees of this magnitude are not cheap, not inexpensive. But it is a major concern and something that we have to work on diligently over the coming year. Okay. The next project, which was just completed, is a new automated access control gate for camp. This was part of our security grant, so we've been able to get the funds to do this. It was just completed a couple weeks ago, and we're really excited about that. In the off seasons, this gate won't be closed during normal camp activities or on weekend camps and so on, but mostly when no one's there, when just staff is on site. We get a lot of people driving through camp, just checking it out, looking at our facilities, and we want to make sure that camp is safe, and it may also be used some during, say, the summer season with the kids on camp where we can secure access. So this is a big improvement for us to have this capability. And part of that has also that grant, as I mentioned, we've improved the alert systems for fire and intruder alert. We've improved security for the main office, staff house, director's cabin, and maintenance. So those now have security systems installed as well as some surveillance cameras. So that's all been part of our federal grant program. Finally, don't have pictures of these, but we put new windows in the office so Janet can work comfortably in the summer and open up some windows. And don't tell the Forest Service about that, please. And of course, a lot of ongoing work on the pool and the spa area. Last year we did a major renovation for the pump house that was desperately needed for the pool to keep that running for our youth camps during the summer. So that's been the activity, and we'll continue to work diligently in this coming year to, I think, maintain the facilities in the best possible I just feel like the facilities are in the best shape they've been in a long time, and that's all been possible due to volunteers and, of course, the fundraising and contributions that have made that all possible. So thank you all for your support. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. Secretaries get under-recognized, and I want to take a moment here. She's not going to come forward, but I do want to tell Martha Caslow, thank you so much for all the recording that you do. You do a wonderful job. Thank you. If you decide to join us, it's up to you. But let any one of the current serving board know your willingness to serve in leadership position for camp. Since our membership is currently not at maximum, the boards I'm referring to, there are a couple of positions that could be filled right now. Please contact either Martha Caslow or Dale Botts or myself. We are the current members of the governance committee. Probably Louise will join back in at this point. I haven't talked to her yet. But anyway, if you know someone you think could be a good fit for your board, you members, ask them first, please. Don't put them forward. Let them put themselves forward, and then encourage them to contact any one of us. They're just, we like to have 9. We are currently at 7. Paul went off in mid-month May, and Louise was just voted in, so we're still holding 7 very well. Thank you. I would like to go off script for a minute. Shouldn't be a problem, but I'd like to have Janet Murphy come up and give us about 5 minutes of, it's candlelighters, right? Chalice lighters. Come on up, Janet.
Good afternoon. It's afternoon? Not quite, almost. If you don't happen to know who I am the current DRE at Unitarian Universalist San Luis Obispo, lifelong UU, grew up in the Berkeley Church up north. But I also am your last past PSWD president before we did the vote to merge to become a region. And because of that, I chose an avenue to stay on to do my part with the region and stay connected. So I have been working diligently with a whole group full of us, not just me, to put forward a new regional chalice lighters program. It's been in the works this whole time since we closed the district. And so I'm really happy to announce that we are at the we're at the finish line. And I thought I was gonna have pamphlets and numbers to give to you all today, but we're about 2 weeks out. So I'm just here to promote it. Let me see who knows in the past that you were a district chalice lighter. Raise your hand. Okay, so all these folks know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can talk to them for more details. But basically, it's a program where all of us can donate to support all of us. And congregations can apply to receive grants for facility improvement, for professional improvement. Douglas mentioned my congregation hired a part-time membership coordinator. It started with a grant from Chalice Lighters. That's where we got the funds to begin that position. And so you can be thinking about not only what your congregation might need and what you might apply for, but also think about your own finances and supporting others through our new regional Chalice Lighters program. And you'll be getting information imminently. Thank you.
That's great news, isn't it? That's good news. All right. Well, Paul Wallace, it's been 10 years. Well served. Paul, come on up here. Paul's service to camp has been remarkable. During his years of service, Paul distinguished himself by developing a financial and investment policy during his first term as treasurer. Paul has been our engineer on the ground with our water projects and worked after 2020 forest fire to route water flow around the campus area and to capture and defer the mud flow. He's led the drainage project to circumnavigate the roof runoff around the lodge, as well as window replacements and other major facility projects. During his second term as treasurer, he worked to finalize the financial investment policies that made the current board's process of approving them relatively easy. Honestly, I don't know all that Paul's done for us in camp. But I do know he did it well and he did it competently. It is with great joy that I say to you, Paul Wallace, thank you for your dedication and distinction while serving on the board of directors of Camp de Benneville Pines. See, if you join, eventually you'll get one of those too. Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much. All right. It's just about time for Janet. So, come on up here, Janet. It is her 30th year. Come on up and give us your 30th report. All right. Thank you. Wow. All right. Wow. Wow.
Thank you. Wow. I better do this. Thank you so much. You don't know what it's like seeing t-shirts come at you with Janet and Daisy Doodle on them. I'm like, wow. The artist who designed that, Abby Chamberlain, when I saw that shirt, I called her up and I said, oh my gosh, that's just so heartwarming. I said, but I'm so skinny in the design. I'm so skinny. And she said, I decided to put your 30-year-old self on there. And I said, I still don't remember being that skinny, but I'm glad she remembers me in that way. So I have an award to give, and unfortunately, I'm like looking for my person, and I asked him to be here, Marty Vogel. So what I'm going to do, Chris, since he goes to your church, I'm going to send the award home with you, and what I'd really appreciate is if you could give it to him in front of your congregation, because this man needs some recognition. He's coming tonight? Okay, I'll hold off. And if he doesn't show up, then I'll send it home with you. All right. So I was thinking, I also want to recognize my sneaky board because they invited my brother and sister-in-law to arrive, and you heard the screaming. That was me realizing that, what on earth are my siblings doing here? They haven't come in 30 years, but that was pretty darn sneaky, whoever arranged that. And so I was up all night. Instead of practicing or rereading my script, I was talking with them. We're very close, and they flew in from Texas and Northern California. And so, wow, what a gift. All right, so you know me, in order to keep it tight, I always write it down. Otherwise, I'll be up here for hours. So, well, I know you know me. Okay, so I want to say hello, happy campers. This is so fantastic. We had some thorough reports today. The major topics have been covered. What a great board we have, we really do. and we're the hard-working committee members. And I heard twice people say, what does it take to be on the board? The official way to become a board member is to just gently join a committee. You know, like, I like facilities, I like finances, I like fundraising. I mean, I like stewardship. You get on a committee and you work your way over there. So it's not painful at all, because when you get on a committee, you catch it. You're like, woohoo, let's go. I'm in for this. This is a lot of fun. And then you step onto the board, and because of your committee work for a few months or longer, you already know what's going on. And so it's not overwhelming like it would be if you just stepped onto this. So it's a very good structure. So thank you, board. Without your years of so many people in this room being on the board or being on committees, the camp would not be there. I know it would not be there. So on July 1st, 2025, I stepped onto your campus. And so you've heard, it's my 30th year, and how fortunate I have been to have a career I love, work I am passionate about, and working with people who appreciate my endeavors. It makes me wish I had another 30 years to give to you. The time has just flown by, and we still have much to accomplish on this masterpiece called the Benneville Pines. With an average work week that blends into the next work week without much time to catch my breath, this position is not for someone whose interests lie somewhere else. They tried that. They had camp managers who were really social justice warriors, and it really takes somebody that wants to concentrate on what's going on at camp. And that's where my interests lie. They lie in people, the great outdoors, and so the fit of camp director has been pretty perfect for me. So how did I get there? Oh, so many years ago, my father took my family camping at Anzo Borrego State Park. We got to the campsite after dark, and my sister and I were put on cots right parallel to the station wagon. And my brother, my little brother, slept inside with in the wagon with my parents. I remember, so I was probably 4 or 5, and I remember laying in my sleeping bag right next to that and touching the car all night long, because I had to make sure they didn't leave without me. You know, like, it was dark. I didn't know where I was, so touched this car all night long. And at daybreak, I could see the sun coming up over these large rocks. Like, I had no idea there were rocks out there. And dry grasses about this tall were in the breeze like this. And a rabbit hopped by. And soon a dog from the neighboring site sniffing my sister, sniffing me, sniffing all over, sniffing the campfire ring. Oh my gosh, I'm in heaven. I was hooked that weekend. And I could hardly wait to be off chasing lizards and scrambling up those rocks. We were a scouting family. My dad spent his precious weekends taking the Boy Scouts backpacking in the Sierras, and the Girl Scouts, we went tent camping up in the San Bernardino Mountains. I was so possessed by the notion of camping and hiking and fishing and backpacking. It basically possessed me, and it's all I would talk about in between my various scouting adventures. When is the next one? When's it coming up? Where are we going? I collected books on nature. This is what I asked for my birthday. It wasn't Barbie. It was, can I have a nature book? Can I have an animal track book? I want a stargazing book. How about a book on knot tying? And singing around the campfire and listening to campfire stories and toasting marshmallows was truly top on my entertainment list. I love singing around the campfire. I like smelling like the campfire. When I got home and my mother said, "Woo, get your clothes off over there. Get in that shower." I would walk around like it was a badge of honor to smell like the campfire. I had every badge a girl could earn on outdoor anything, and I started dreaming of being a forest ranger. I so adored going off to summer camp that when I got home from summer camp, I'd recruit the kids in the neighborhood to play a game I made up called Let's Go to Camp. Now, Let's Go to Camp was a game we played in the orange grove that was behind our house. There were abandoned pigeon coops in this orange grove, and we cleaned them up with the permission of the owner, and those were our camper cabins, right? We sang silly songs, and we marched around the irrigation ditches until our shoes and our socks were just caked with mud, and it was such a fun time. It truly brought the kids together in community, and we loved it. So I grew up in Redlands, and the other day I was in Trader Joe's, and this woman, she taps me on the shoulder. "Hey, Janet James." And I'm like, "Hey, Jeanette." We hadn't seen each other since 5th grade or so, and we were just chatting, and it's amazing we recognize each other. And she says to me, "Remember when we used to camp out in that orange grove behind your house?" And I said, "Yeah." And part of our reminiscence, we were laughing, and she says, "Remember the time we collected the little sticks and the dried up orange leaves, and we made a campfire ring of rocks, and I lit it on fire with the matches I stole from my mom's kitchen?" I said, "Yeah." And she says, "Well, how did that end?" Well, Mr. Hadwiger must have been spying on us, because bam, his foot comes down on that fire and says, "Home now, home now." I'm sure my dad got a call about that. But that was fun, right? She's remembering that like 50 years later. So my time at the Benneville Pines has been filled with many challenges, as you know, some man-made and many created by nature. And each time we made it to the other side of the crisis, it made me that much prouder to be a part of something that means so much to so many. Because during an evacuation for fire, and fire is scary, let me just tell you that, we get responses from people all over the world who send emails saying, "Save our camp. I'm in Italy, but save it." And they share stories of growing up at camp or their father building camp. And so camp means a lot to so many. In 1995, the year I started, I must have just been ultra full of myself. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought, I'll go up there and whip that camp into shape in no time. But no time turned into some time, and some time has taken me 30 years, and here we are. But my efforts to keep your camp operating have not been singular in any way. Not at all. Had it not been for my husband supporting me from the sidelines, "You go, just tell me when you're coming home," my family cheering me on, my parents driving up from Redlands to come to an event, and oh, so many volunteers taking on multiple difficult tasks, I don't think we'd be there. As a matter of fact, I know we would not be there. I'm just prouder than Punch that we are there, and I hope you are too. In 1995, the camp was headed for bankruptcy, and I sort of see myself as the captain of the Benneville cruise line, but we all know that a cruise line goes nowhere, a cruise liner goes nowhere, if there aren't smart enough people and people to work hard to move it forward, move the ship forward. And we have so many committed people that are helping move the camp forward. And not only does it take people who are willing to give their energy and their talent, it takes people who are willing to open their wallet and write checks. So it takes all kinds. All of your efforts are huge. Just this fiscal year that ended on March 31st, when I reviewed the February financials, $90,000 had been invested into capital improvements for the year. That's a lot. That project at the swimming pool that Paul touched on, or Dale touched on, whoever touched on it, the pool deck was lowering in one part of it because the ground squirrels were undermining the pool deck. So literally the pump room had to be shored up. It's a huge engineering feat. So it was massive. We also managed to raise this year $15,000, which we hope, specifically it was raised to help families and young campers get to camp who were affected by the LA and Eaton fires. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but, it's maybe off a person or two, but 25 people at families at neighborhood church lost their homes in the Eaton fire. That's huge. Is that accurate, Paul? 25. And I don't know what you'd think if 25 people in your congregation lost their, families impacted. So we hope with this money we can encourage a family or two to come up to family camp for the week and help pay that way, or children to get to camp. If you have not been to camp lately, then you've not seen how well cared for the facility is, other than Chris's before and after pictures. Those were great. Programs are outstanding. We have a new chef, Eileen. She's going to make everybody nice and fat. She's a delicious cook. And we are looking for that caretaker. I hope it's a magical person that comes with a significant other that wants to work at camp as well. We're in the process of hiring up for summer. And summer is generally a time we bring in young people, or college kids, or anybody. The applicants must possess a love of being outdoors, probably not addicted to their cell phone, because we don't have really perfect service up there, and somebody who's willing to work hard with physical labor and has the internal fortitude to be gracious with our guests no matter what the circumstance. We are a small team, but we're a mighty team. I'm in awe of that crew. They show up to cook meal after meal, they clean up mess after mess, and they clean cabin after cabin all summer long. They work split shifts, they cook in a hot kitchen that doesn't have air conditioning, they shovel snow, chain up trucks, run chainsaws, stack wood. They are an important part of the tapestry of camp. And let's not forget the camp dogs. They are an important part of our camp crew too. And I close today with a story of a camper, because there's just fun when you tell a story of a camper. So here goes. And the name has been changed to protect the innocent. A few summers ago, on a check-in day, this is right after we opened from COVID, the lodge is totally crazy with people, right? And I zero in on this couple that I know from coming up to their weekend camp, and I say, how the heck are ya? The kids are old enough to come to elementary camp. Great. Well, one of them's in the lodge, points Junior out, and I says,
well, where's Ben? He's sitting in the car. His luggage is right there, but we can't get him out of the car. He is just going to go home with us. I said, you're kidding. He loves camp. And they said, we know, but all the way up the mountain. He's like, I'm not going to stay. I'm not going to stay. And so I said, well, do you mind if I go talk to Ben? I'll give it a shot. And so I went and grabbed Daisy Doodle, our camp dog, on a leash, and I went down there, and Ben had the window rolled down, and I said, hi, Ben. And he says, I'm not going, Janet. I'm not getting out of this car. That was his response when hi, Ben. I'm not going, Janet. I'm not getting out of this car. And I said, well, why do you want to be in your car? I have things to do at home. And so we chatted a bit, but he was glued, absolutely glued to his seat. And so I decided this is not working unless I get tricky. So I said, Ben, I need your help. What? I said, I gotta go pee. Would you hold Daisy Doodle for me while I go pee? He goes, okay. So I pass him the leash through the window, and I start walking up the hill thinking, ha, Ben. And I hid behind a shed, and I watched. And within a matter of 15 seconds, Daisy is pulling so hard to follow me up the hill that Ben is like this, right? So he opens the door and puts his foot out, changes his hands, like that. And she's strong. She pulled right out of that car, and he's being pulled up the hill. When I saw that, I run into the lodge. I said, he's out. And they said, great. And they ran out the lodge the other way from where he was coming and went into the parking lot and drove off. All right. Woo. So now, yes, we had to deal with a few disappointed tears when the realization came over Ben that he had been ditched. But I tell you, he got over it. And Ben continued coming many summers now, and he's one of the leaders. His cabin counselors love him. He shows everybody around camp. So within just a few hours, he was having a great time at camp. And I just want to share that story so you understand the magic. Camp uplifts, it supports, it welcomes, it nurtures. In a nutshell, your camp is magical. And now we face our biggest challenge of them all, to regrow our churches and our fellowships with young families. We just got to figure that out. For camp to survive, churches must thrive. I like that. That needs to be on a t-shirt. Okay, it's a symbiotic relationship. Together we need to support one another. So get your families up to camp. Please, if you have just one family at your church right now, let's help them get to camp, all right? Because all it takes is one time, and the kids get there with their families, and they'll come back. So send a reluctant child to camp. Let's lead the way in developing a generation of brave youngsters who look forward to life and living to the fullest. I tell you, there is nothing better than stomping around in mud and the irrigation ditch, playing at a park, or camping with your family. It's the secret to raising well-adjusted, self-sufficient, and emboldened children. Children who are not afraid to live their life. And we have children right now afraid to get out of the cars. So let's get them up to camp. Thank you for devoting so much of your resource in support of de Benneville. I truly believe de Benneville is the collective heartbeat of all of our churches in our area. The one thing we've created together, a touchstone now for 5 generations. Thank you for the chance you gave me 30 years ago to lead your camp. I sincerely have loved growing alongside with your children and learning right along with them. So thank you. Okay.
I like that t-shirt idea. In closing, I'm so grateful for each one of you present here today, in person and online. Thank you. And thank you for everything you do for camp. If all you do is go out and talk to other people about our beloved space up in San Bernardino Mountains, please know we're grateful for that. Talk us up. We're so grateful to you who have and are still able to volunteer for camp, who attend camps, who contribute financially. Thank you, thank you, thank you for serving as delegates to this annual meeting. Thank you so much. This meeting is adjourned. You have some questions? You did? Yes. Yeah, that was the vote. Okay, great. Ask questions, that's good. So many people have served so often. You probably will have lunch with someone who can answer your questions, honestly. All right, everybody, thank you again. I know we didn't take 2 hours, and that's good. You can use that extra time, can't you? Thank you again.